All right, zoning board, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines will remain off. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals work session for March 14th, 2023. I'm going to get right at it. We have, starting off, we have an administrative application, and that is, the applicant is Jerry Britton at 23 South Ferncroft Place in Montauk, Suffolk County. That's at 300-28-3-47, and that is to construct a 714 square foot swimming pool and 228 square foot patio within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. And we have Morgan with us this evening. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, how are you guys? So this application is on the corner of South Ferncroft and South Geneva Place in Montauk, and for a swimming pool and patio. You can see it's about 130 feet from the wetlands to the northwest over here, and about 116 feet from the wetlands to the south. There's no variances. It's just an NRSP jurisdiction. As far as mitigation that we would propose, it would likely just be a vegetated buffer on the south end of the property, but it's already pretty vegetated there. So it should be a sufficient buffer for the swimming pool to the wetlands.
Could you zoom in on that? South Geneva Place, is that a closed road over there?
I'm not sure.
What about a
No,
new
there was-
IA system, or is that too much of an ask?
That's
Probably too much of
No
an ask.
nexus
yeah,
too.
there's a nexus to that.
Was there a recent permit done on this house
Yes,
for work?
I think within the past
It
2 or
looked
3
like, I
years.
drove past it and it looked like there was a lot of work done recently.
I believe it was for the deck.
Yeah, it looks like deck and siding and
Yeah.
stuff like that. No, the one concern I had driving past, it is uphill going down to South Ferncroft, and I'm concerned like when they have to do winterization of the pool and let the water out and all that kind of thing, where that's going to be diverted to. So,
Yeah, we would propose a dry well as a condition for
a
them.
bunch of dry wells.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty large pool too.
So did you say there's going to be an area of revegetation suggested?
No, well, it would be probably south end here, but there's already vegetation there. That would be where we would propose because that's where it's closest to the wetlands. But it's already pretty vegetated there.
Looked like it had a lot of yard. Maybe once the pool's there, it's not going to be as much yard. Where's the drive? Oh, there's the driveway. Okay.
Driveway is right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So let's ask a couple of questions then, like in line with what Terry's looking at. The clearing, is that within clearing?
Let's see. There's like 16,344 square feet where 18,140 square feet is allowed. So
Okay.
it's under clearing.
Dry well is absolutely necessary. Well, that's by code anyway.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Was there any other alternative in how to set the pool that it might come closer into?
If you were to move, are you saying to move it further from the wetlands?
Well, I'm saying from the wetlands, is it possible on the site, having looked at the
I
site?
don't believe so, just because they're to the north and the south. I mean, maybe towards the driveway, but
So in either direction, you'd just be increasing.
Yeah.
somewhere or another.
it's like Doug before.
Well, anyway, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll go with it.
I guess I am, but those are concerns, the drainage and the
Yeah, I agree.
runoff, because I don't want it running off down to the street. There's enough flooding on that street already.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so for Jerry Britton at 23 South Ferncroft Place in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-028-03-47, to make a motion to allow this application to proceed administratively.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Next on our post-hearing decisions, we have revocable trust of Robert E. Isaacson at 233 Gerard Drive in Springs. Suffolk Tax Map number 300-42-2-9. Size and location is 11,692 square feet. at 233 Gerard Drive, Cape Gardner, Block C, lot number 15, map number 1192 in Springs. The description is to demolish the existing one-story residence with associated structures and to construct a new 1,923 square foot two-story residence with 187 square foot wood deck, 44 square foot balcony, new sanitary system, storage and shower under the residence, clearing, regrading, a new driveway within jurisdiction of wetlands, beach vegetation, and beaches, and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. Relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 9 variances are required for this application. 2 variances of 67 feet and 64 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the residence 33 feet and decking 36 feet from the edge of wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 2 variances of 31 feet and 39 feet are required from 255-440 of the Town Code to construct the residence 44 feet and decking 36 from the edge of beach where 75-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 159 feet is required from 255-375B1 to construct a sanitary system 41 feet from wetlands where 200-foot setback is required. 1 variance of 2 feet is required from 255-375B2 of the Town Code to construct the sanitary system within a 2-foot separation of groundwater where a 4-foot separation is required. 1 variance of 30 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to clear vegetation 20 feet from the edge of wetlands where 50-foot setback is required. 2 variances of 9 feet are required from 255-1172D of the Town Code to construct the residence 9 feet out of the town's pyramid regulations along the northern and southern lot lines and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2, residence AE flood zone and elevation 10. The secret class is type 2. This is in member Savarise's district. And a lot of notes.
Yeah, this is a busy application. The public hearing was held January 24th. This property is 11,692 square feet. The application, Rick Whalen spoke on behalf of the application. The application was filed under Whalen and Filer. The parcel is now improved with a 1-story residence and associated structures. The survey we are working with is dated received February 7th, 2023, last revised February 6th, 2023, prepared by Gary Benz. Just get my notes, I have a lot here. The existing sanitary system is going to be abandoned and a new IA system is going to be proposed. At the end of this public hearing, we left the record open for an updated survey. But after a day of reviewing documents that we sort of received the night of the public hearing, I asked if I could reopen the record to get a construction protocol, and that was granted, and we have received that. So submitted into the record after the public hearing was a memo outlining revisions dated February 7th. Well, actually, all these documents are going to be dated received February 7th. A memo outlining revisions, architectural drawings prepared by Pax Architecture dated received February 7th. Septic system layout prepared by Studio AB Architects, and the survey that I already noted into the record. The house in its current state is not habitable and has not been for many years. The applicant has withdrawn its request for a variance regarding the application regarding the separation of depth to groundwater for a new IA system, but is proposing retaining walls. The application was routed to the East Hampton Town trustees. However, I I did not see any response from them in the record. So as of January 20th, 2023, the submissions made the night of the public hearing, the house would be set back approximately 54.5 feet from the beach, and the house deck will be set back 46 feet from the beach. The existing house right now, as we speak, is 18 feet from the edge of the beach. In a submission made after the public hearing at the request of this board, the house setback is now an additional 1.5 feet. If I have any of these numbers wrong, just tell me. I think I was pretty careful from the beach. And the house deck is now set back an additional foot from the beach. The front of the home is set back 30 feet from the edge of wetlands located off-site to the south. Now, in the January 20th submission, there's a notation that says the driveway and front yard are dirt and grass, which is not 100% accurate. The front yard for years has been mowed and cleared of all its natural vegetation. Just want to make sure I haven't left anything out. Girard Drive is a fragile, perilously volatile peninsula of land separating Accabonac Harbor from Gardner's Bay, and a highly environmentally sensitive area. This area is a New York State significant fish and coastal wildlife habitat, a component of the Peconic Estuary Critical Environmental Area, and is within the Accabonac Scenic Area of statewide significance. The wetlands along the whole stretch of this area are high-quality tidal wetlands, which benefits our high-quality plant and wildlife habitats, nursery areas for commercially important shellfish and finfish. Girard Drive provides
Excuse me one second, ZBA. Denise, please hold that thought. I do not know what happened in the last couple of minutes, but anybody watching at home, the only thing that the board did while we were actually not live was the administrative application. You should be getting everything now, video-wise and audio-wise, perfectly well. That is all. I just want to put that on record. Thank you. Go ahead, Denise.
Thank you. Girard Drive provides nesting and foraging areas for federally endangered and state-threatened bird species, such as piping plover, least tern, and ospreys. This entire area and this entire street is flood prone. After demolition of a one-story residence, the applicant is proposing to completely redevelop the property with a new two-story residence. This parcel of land is literally only 4 feet above sea level. The parcel is non-conforming to aspects of the town code, including lot size. It has an upland lot area of 9,125 square feet and a lot width of only 50 feet. The parcel is also hugely impacted by erosion, and to the east of this existing one-story house has lost approximately 70 feet in the past 20 years. In terms of the pyramid proposal, this could set, in my opinion, a poor precedent for the similar lots that are in this area. A two-story residence that also requires a pyramid, even though they have been lowered, would have an effect on the scenic character of the neighborhood. It is also worthy to note this area is mostly small improvements or undersized lots, and approving pyramid requests could jeopardize the character of the neighborhood. In an area of significant erosion, this project, in my opinion, is too much for the constraints of the parcel and will have negative impacts on the natural resources and on natural features. It's admirable that they're moving away from the water, but it's being relocated to an area already cleared of natural vegetation. And unfortunately, the location of the IA system is being placed in a wooded area to be cleared. The little natural vegetation left on this site will now be then taken away for the installation of this septic. So this site will have literally been cleared of all natural vegetation. As my field inspection photos indicated, if you look at west of this residence, there are literally 2 homes that are ready to go into the water. One with a totally exposed septic system above the ground. So for these reasons, I do not feel that this is in keeping with the natural resource special permit standards and does not meet the standards for variances, and I'm denying this application.
Okay, thank you. Gary, you want to go?
Sure. Okay. Well, I won't repeat a lot of the things that Denise said, very thorough coverage. I was, went through all the same thought processes as far as the statewide significance, the native habitats of the harbor, and all those wonderful things that it's cited for and needs to be protected. I too am bothered. I'm looking at from the submission that came on February 7th. I think they did a good job at trying to tweak a little bit better project out of this whole process with the home. Now it's an additional 1.5 feet from the beach, the deck 1 foot from the edge of the beach, and the coverage went down. And I believe the GFA, they went from 3 bedrooms proposed to 2 bedrooms, with 1 bedroom on the second floor now and 1 on the first floor. That's a lot of good things, and they do have a re-veg proposed for where the current dwelling is today, which is proposed to be removed. It's the pyramid too that bothered me. I was looking at the Isaacson architectural drawings, and it looks like a very nice house, but it's the pyramid that is bothersome to me here too. And I spent a lot of time looking to see on this survey, is there a way that they could improve? I almost thought that perhaps a 1-story house actually moved closer to where the proposed septic system is. I believe there's enough space to move that and put the proposed deck on the other side of the house. Maybe it's not looking at the bay, but I thought there were alternatives that could be done without putting the 2nd story on the house. And that's what I'm right this minute. I'm struggling with that. I think I'm curious to hear what my fellow board members say, and I may reserve my final decision, but I too think it's very, not sure that I feel it meets the natural resources standards, but I do think the applicant is the house definitely needs to have something done with it. And they do have, a whole lot of constraints on this property being so non-conforming. And I was bothered by the retaining wall about the septic system. However, I guess that's actually preferable by the planning department to having it not meet the 4 foot of groundwater. So, what I have to say about it.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else.
We'll turn it to
It's
somebody
about
else.
moving the house a little more first story.
I saw some other things in this application. To begin with, there was the initial take that we got in the TAM, where the house was proposed at some 1,900 square feet, and later on in that reference to what's already been referenced, that February 7th submission, the note and the prints, we saw that they reduced by about 1/3 the size of the house. They also tried to move it a little further back from the water, as was mentioned. I had from the hearing and from, I think, the TAM, we saw that the existing house sits 11 feet from the shoreline, and we'd be being pulled back to 56 feet. So we're moving 45 feet back from the water. I think the deck winds up 47 feet away as currently drawn. I thought that, and of course, the idea that they came up with a way in which to keep the septic system, new septic system, 4 foot above groundwater, were all positives. I understand exactly the sensitivity of this particular area. We all do. We're very concerned about what goes on out here. And I think that that's important for us, but I also recognize the fact that we get caught in this conundrum where our wishes for a particular parcel versus the owner's rights to build or to construct. Our job is then to decide, can we come up with a solution that can be suggested that perhaps does the very best to protect the wetlands, to protect the natural environment, while allowing the client some way or the applicant some way to move forward with their project. I thought that the effort on their part to move the house, reduce the 600 feet, was significant. It went from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom. Some other sacrifices were made in there in terms of design in order to get it down to that spot. And I would take a slight exception to the analysis of the pyramid here. One of the problems, and I think it's primarily caused by trying to comply with FEMA regulations, is once you bring the house up to 12 feet, we're raising it about 8 feet from where it is, well, 8 feet above the ground, not from where it is now, but 8 feet above the ground. And we stand an 8-foot wall on top of that. There's almost no way to not have a pyramid violation. Now, there is, of course, a way to create a very, very thin house, I guess, and that's the way to do it. Moving it north or south, forward or back on the property line is not going to affect the side setbacks. If you take a look at that drawing, which is ZO105 in the resubmitted work drawings, you'll see that that first floor at 12 and walls at 8 has nothing really to do with the second floor living space. There is no dormer in the second floor living space. That's just a roof line. Without a roof at all, even with a flat roof, removing it completely, you'd still have a 5-foot pyramid violation or variance required. Now, could something be done about that? I think it could be, but I also think that it's been a reasonable effort to try to find a house that will somehow suit the applicant's needs, as well as doing the best they can to accommodate what we had suggested in the TAM and in our hearing. When I go through all of those items and I see the amount of effort that was made to try to do as well as they can to accommodate, and the fact that I think it's a reasonable sized house for the lot, I'm bothered by one thing, and primarily, and that is that when we start moving these houses up, as we seem to be, it may become a real pattern everywhere, we're going to have more and more pyramid problems, because if we're going to come additional 6 and 8 and 5 feet above, depending on local, we will have a very hard time setting a house anywhere. So this house, when I look at it, I think is a reasonable effort at a house. And the pyramid, which we all are very sensitive to, and I've personally voted many in favor of many period rejections based on pyramid variance requests. Nonetheless, I think is reasonable here, because I don't know what the alternative is. The alternative is obviously not to follow FEMA regulations and not to come up, and then this wouldn't be a problem. But we do come up, and so we're sitting in a spot where this house has been elevated, and I think that the pyramid is one that I'm going to accept. And I think that the other efforts made by the applicant here were reasonable and fair. And coming back to that basic conundrum we have each time we review these, is balancing the applicant, the owners, the property owners' rights to build with our needs to try to do the best we can to protect the environment. So I think that this is a tough balance, but in here, I'm going to vote to approve this. And I think that they've done the best they can to try to accommodate the NRSP standards.
Thank you. Joe?
I'm in pretty much full agreement with Ed. This whole area, particularly this end of Gerard Drive, has a lot of houses that are way too close to the beach. And I feel like with this application, we have to balance encouraging people to move their houses landward as well as be FEMA compliant. And this particular piece of property is only 50 feet wide. So again, I think it's a 5-foot pyramid variance. It does set a precedent, but otherwise we'd be condemning them to have a 1-bedroom house. And I'm not sure that's fair necessarily, because we do need to balance the rights of people to enjoy their property. And I was unclear on one thing, the area of revegetation, were they going to make that a scenic easement in the front?
Take a look at that.
I don't think they mentioned scenic easement.
No.
No.
No scenic easement.
So
There's very little room up
There's
there
no
with the
room.
septic system in the
Exactly.
driveway.
no, then,
Oh,
You're
you're talking about
front
the
of
front.
the
By the
deck.
beach.
Oh, you're by the beach. That would be the front yard anyway.
So I would condition it on at least making the front of the portion of the house that fronts on the beach be a scenic easement and that it be revegetated.
They are
Well, they are
revegetated.
They are
revegetating, yeah.
revegetating it, but I'd like to see a scenic easement there. Because I think that would be a good precedent to set.
That whole area?
Yeah, I would say it
They
would
have
be
to
up to
stay
that,
10 feet
that
away
thing,
from the
leaving them room for access to the beach, but that green hatched area
Yeah.
would be, is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I think.
Exactly. This was a tough application.
It's
Because
still-
Yeah,
it does,
Absolutely.
it affects all these little houses on Gerard Drive. On the other hand, the town could buy it with CPF money, but they haven't.
The owner has to be
Right.
willing to sell that, so it's not.
And the owner has to be, right.
Oh, no, you, yeah, go.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
I'm also in agreement with approving this application again. The what sticky point to me is the pyramid regulation. And as Ed mentioned, you're looking at the diagram and it even affects the first story floor. So there's really no way to get around it. And compounded with the FEMA elevation. I've seen this in other parts of decisions, especially Marine Boulevard. I also think the design of the house is fitting enough for the character of the neighborhood. The houses that are there are similar to make and model and design. So I think it's going to fit in, and I would approve to vote it, to approve it as well. Harry?
Okay, we're back to me. Well, so the pyramid is 5 feet today, and I'm looking at this again and seeing what member Johan's point was on that. All right, I too will approve this one.
Thank you.
Is this being approved by all parties that approve it with the scenic easement?
no, I'm denying.
No,
Right, right. But anybody that approved the application, Roy, Ed, Joan, and Teresa, it's only approved with the scenic easement.
I would agree with the scenic easement.
I would just as soon see a covenant for the buffer, vegetative buffer, but
Does it have to be an easement or?
it have
can
to
it
be an easement, I don't
be
know.
a covenant?
Asking us?
Yes.
Okay. No, I think it'd be great. I would prefer if it was an easement.
I'm fine with that too.
I'm fine with an easement, as long as it travels with the property.
Agreed.
Okay.
You good, counsel?
See you again.
Next, we have Dana Levine at 872 Montauk Highway in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-152-2-29.1. The size and location is 166,997.4 square feet at 872 Montauk Highway, Amagansett. The description is to replace existing decking, remove a 224 square foot portion of deck, add 312 square feet of new decking, install 4-foot pool fencing, and construct a pergola and outdoor barbecue kitchen area, a screen porch with a roof deck on a parcel containing dune land and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 2 area variances pursuant to 255-430 are required from the East Hampton Town Code. A variance of 25 feet is needed from 255-430 to construct a 4-foot pool fence 75 feet from the wetland, and a variance of 2.5 feet is needed from 255-430 to construct an outdoor barbecue kitchen 97.5 from the wetland where 100-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. Joan?
Yes, the hearing was held on, I can't read my own handwriting, January 24th. The applicant, Luis Alfaro, presented for the applicant. The applicant is Samir Carrillo. The survey we're looking at is last revised December 16th, 2022 by Colonial Surveying. And the architect of the proposed new structures is Mark C. Matthews, architect, dated March 14th, 2021. Overall, the property is going to increase its lot coverage by 326.5 square feet from lot coverage, where 2,665.2 square feet is the existing lot coverage, and the maximum is 13,359 square feet. And the total lot coverage is going to increase by 38 square feet from 14,853 square feet existing, where 29,452.1 square feet are allowed. I guess in reciting these numbers, as technical as they are, and having visited the property, there's massive amounts of this property that aren't developed. And so I kind of look at this application through that lens. There's a big scenic easement. It's a big piece of property. They have developed parts of it, but overall, there's a lot that isn't developed. So I think, to be fair, we need to keep that in mind. So in looking at part of the work, which is to remove an existing deck and reconstruct it so that it's 2.5 feet off the wetlands, I'm not sure there are alternatives, because their whole reason for doing this is they want an outdoor space with an outdoor kitchen and a barbecue. And when we asked them if they could make it narrower, they sort of indicated that if they made it narrower, then the whole point of the project would be lost. So I'm inclined to approve the 2.5 square feet from the wetlands, provided, as suggested in the TAM, that they mitigate this by installation of hay bales and cement control fencing prior to construction. And that should be a condition of granting this. There was definitely some confusion about the pool fencing and why they needed pool fencing that bordered on the scenic easement. And I'm going to deny the request for pool fencing because they were given 2 weeks to explain it. And at least according to the file I have, they did not submit any explanation. And then thirdly, the TAM had proposed that they remove ornamental silver grasses as a condition for granting the variance, the special permit. And I think that's a good suggestion because they are quite invasive. So I'd condition the granting of the special permit, the 2.5 feet off wetlands, on removing the ornamental silver grasses, which are, I can't read my handwriting, miscanthus?
Yeah, miscanthus.
That's it.
Thank you. Ed?
I think I got all my notes.
Thank you, Joan. We remember that during this hearing, a lot of time was spent discussing the fence. I want to start with the fence. When you visit the property, as Joan says, a lot of it is not developed and is very well maintained, particularly when you get to the pool and you get behind the pool. The idea of the fence going 25 feet out, into the easement, to me, is not, wouldn't have been acceptable on any level, even if they'd made a resubmission. When you get there, you realize that the pool is protected, as we brought up at the hearing, by its own fence that was around there. It's a rail that goes around. It was commented that it's only 3 feet from the deck, but it was pointed out by the chair that it's more than 4 feet from outside, therefore it makes it legal. That's enough protection legally for the pool. There is no reason for the other fence. Encouraging it to be out in this really very nicely maintained, I won't call it pristine, but quite attractive portion of the dune land there. I can see no reason for it, and I would not be willing to approve the fence at all. I think there was a reasonable question, and it was brought up again, I think, by the chair and others. Could not we have moved this outdoor grill 2.5 feet and then eliminated all need for the variance? They stated, as Joan has pointed out, that no, that wouldn't work with their design. And from a design point of view, they wanted to stick with that and hope that they could get out of us an approval in that area. I think that the grasses that were mentioned, the miscanthus, should be conditioned to be removed. We all agreed on that, and it sounded as if the applicant had no problem with it. I do think also that there was a period of time there, as was pointed out, McGivern, where they could have gotten back to us with a better explanation on the fence, and without one, I don't see how we could have moved forward at all. So I'm going to basically agree with what was said by Member McGivern, and I'm going to approve the 2.5 feet that they're looking for a variance. And mostly I'm going to do that, not because I think that it couldn't have been moved, but I do think it's a very large parcel that seems to have been well maintained. I think there's a fairly good record of stewardship on this, and I think we can hopefully count on the work being done in a way in which we can see the maximum protection for the environment. So I'm willing to approve the 2.5 foot variance, but to deny the fence. Thank you.
Can I just ask for clarification? We're going to condition it on their using hay bales and cement and sediment fencing?
Yes.
Part of the construction? Okay.
Yeah. Construction protocol. Yeah.
Got it.
Isn't that in the project conditions?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, actually, I don't think it is, but we can add that.
Yeah. I don't.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it is. Number
It is?
one. Yeah.
It's-
Steak strawberry.
Sure. Well, I'm not going to repeat. I'm in total agreement with my fellow board members for the reasons stated, and I think this is in compliance with NRSP standards and variance standards, and I approve the application.
And deny the fence.
And yes, the only thing I am denying is the fence.
All right, thank you. Terry?
I agree completely. And just a comment about the kitchen. I think when I visited the property, it looked like the kitchen is inside, right where they want to put the outdoor kitchen. So I guess logically it makes sense that they would want it there. And so I too will approve the 2.5 foot variance for the kitchen. Yeah. But I agree on all the other things with the fellow board members and deny the fence. Absolutely.
Thank you. I agree too. I have nothing else to add. Next, we have John and Nancy Magnan at 59 Osprey Road.
Ask Hope if she's good.
What's that?
Want to ask Hope if she's good.
Oh, yeah, Hope, are you good on that? Were you good on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we have John and Nancy Magnan at 59 Osprey Road, Narragansett, Suffolk tax map number 300-131-5-19. Size and location is 7,552 square foot at 59 Osprey Road, Montauk on the Sea, Section A, Lot 72, map number 2438, Amagansett. Description is to allow a front entry porch to remain on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation, a first-story deck expansion to remain within side yard setbacks, and a second-story deck expansion to remain outside of town pyramid regulations. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and two area variants pursuant to 255-850D are required. A variance of approximately 9 feet is needed from 255-1172D of the Town Code to allow the second-story deck on the east side of the residence to remain outside of the town's pyramid regulations. And 6.4 feet is needed from 255-1110, Table 3 of the Town Code, to allow the back deck to remain 8.6 feet from the western side yard property line where a 15-foot setback is required. The lot appears to fall under the 4/10 rule pursuant to 255-143D1, which would allow for the required side yard setback to be reduced to 10.24 feet, which would require variance of only 1.64 feet for the back deck. And any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, and the type secret class is type 2.
Okay. The hearing in this matter was held on February 7th. Joel Halsey of Lighthouse Land Planning presented for the applicant. The survey we're referring to is by George Walbridge, dated July 4th, 2022. Too bad he was working on a holiday. This is a generally non-conforming lot. It's only 64 feet wide, where 100 feet is the minimum for a B residential zone. The clearing is essentially the maximum allowed, 7,552. Having visited the property, it's almost entirely cleared. The total coverage is 4,095 square feet, where 3,776 is allowed. So they're over on total coverage and they're over cleared, in my opinion. Having said that, with respect to the back deck, besides applying the 4/10 rule, I think that there was some genuine confusion over a 1991 survey that had it 10.2 feet from the property line, whereas now the survey has it 8.6 feet from the property line. So I'm inclined to approve back deck as requested. With respect to the second story deck, although I hate to necessarily set a precedent, actually the the need for the pyramid variance comes into effect because it's not the actual decking, but 2.9 feet of railing that extends over. So I'm inclined to approve that because it doesn't really have the same sort of negative effect that a pyramid, that the pyramid code is, the purpose of the pyramid code is to allow light and air, and really this is just decking. I'm not inclined to approve the front entry porch area, which had been enlarged and cleared. Don't think that's in keeping with preservation of natural resources. There do seem to be alternative reasonable uses for the front of the house, particularly given that they seem to be entirely cleared. And also, that's with respect to 255-5-51. And with respect to 255-5-40, I don't think the front porch area is compatible with other houses that I drove up and down Osprey and this area of Amagansett. So I don't think it's compatible with other neighboring properties. And it certainly isn't environmentally protective. So I would condition on their revegetation to at least the minimum of 3,776. In Joel Halsey's letter of stamped received January 31st, 2023, he discusses the fact that the applicant is in the process of applying for the rebates for an IAS system, but it's not necessarily offered as mitigation for anything. So I discounted that. They also offered in his letter received January 31st, 2023, that they plan to remove certain slate walkways, gravel, and a garden, but it wasn't clear that that was a condition. They just represented that these areas will be revegetated to the town's satisfaction. So again, I would make a condition that they revegetate to at least satisfy the total coverage, if not do more in the front. That's it.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I'm largely in agreement with Joan on this one. There were a couple of things. Let's start with the pyramid. The pyramid comes back up again in another hearing here. Perhaps this is a case where it's good to consider the spirit of the rule and the law and the code rather than exactly what we have. At 2.9 feet above, it's entirely the rail that's in question, and the rail is an open slatted rail. And that if in fact we were to put a solid glass rail there, that would appease which that doesn't count against the pyramid law. So that would appease that variance, but it would go against the spirit of what the whole idea of what the pyramid law was about. And that was mentioned by Joan, is that, open air and airflow and not to a blocking of light. So I'm in favor of leaving the rail where it is. I'm also thinking that along the same lines as Joan, that what happened with that back squared off deck was partly some confusion. I think that they were somewhat in the wrong there. I can certainly see where that's was called for us to make a distinction, but I'm willing to approve that. They did say that they were going to take up those pavers that ran along the west side of the house, and that area would then be revegetated. And that was a positive for us. I was also agree that there's a certain amount of confusion, although it was mentioned and talked about that an IA system is going in. It wasn't offered as mitigation. There's no guarantee that they're going to move forward with that. It's just that it's in the process of being considered. And again, I'll agree with Joan. I didn't see the need for approving the front deck. I agree with her that when you're there, it seems out of place, it seems oversized, and it was built in an area where there was absolutely no need for it. It's just extended beyond. I think there was a contention that it was done without their approval, but one way or another, I don't want to approve that forward deck. I think that it's pretty obvious that it can be contracted back to where it belongs. So I'm going to approve both the squaring off of the back or the western deck, the rail, but not approve the deck in front of the house on the southern side of the house.
Thank you.
Can I, point of clarification, would you condition it on revegetating to 3,776 square feet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Denise? Or you?
Well, I'm in favor of granting this entire application. And the only thing I wanted to see as a condition was that as stipulated in the TAM, that the survey depicts the removal of, my concern on this was coverage. The survey depicts the removal of slate pavers, gravel, and a raised garden bed, which would reduce the coverage to 3,544 square feet, where 3,776 square feet is allowed. I think the beach vegetation for the front porch was minimal. And I particularly don't have a problem with this whole application. I think it's in keeping with the NRSP codes, and I agree to approve this application in its entirety.
Thank you.
Okay, I am agreeing with Member Savarese on this one. I will approve the entire thing. I'm concerned about that front porch and the IA system, but I guess if that has to be moved if and when the IA becomes a reality, then so be it. And the pavers, yeah, absolutely have to be removed. And does say in the TAM, the recommended condition, any area where structures are proposed to be removed will be revegetated with beach grass. And so that, plus the additional revegetation to bring it into compliance for the, well, it's not really, I guess compliance for clearing is actually the whole lot at this point, but bringing it down to the 3776 clearing. Yeah, so I too will approve the whole thing.
Thank you. I'm also going to agree with Member Berger and Savarese on this. I agree that it's not a big ask. It is part of the reduction rule. And I agree with the conditions set forth. I have nothing else to add. Council, we okay?
Keep looking up there.
Hope, are you with us?
Oh,
No.
cancel.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yes, I'm good.
Thank you.
Right along.
All right, next, we have the East Hampton Planning Board, Wayne Scott Commercial at 30 Montauk Highway in Wayne-Scott, Suffolk, tax map number 300-192-2-66.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7. The size and location is 70.51 acres at 30 Montauk Highway, Wayne-Scott, and the Suffolk tax map number I read. The description: pursuant to the Town Code 255-830A, the planning board seeks an interpretation as to whether a special permit is required for a planned industrial park for the Wayne Scott Commercial Center preliminary subdivision application. Relief sought is an interpretation of the Town Code pursuant to 255-830A in order to determine if the proposed project requires a granting of a special permit for a planned industrial park. The zoning district is CI, Commercial Industrial Zone X, flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And this is in my domain, so I'll kick it off. What we have before us is a planned industrial park subdivision that is 70 acres plus or minus 70 acres plus in size, dividing into 50 lots. And it's before the planning board at this time. And the question has come up is an industrial park subject to special permit? And I think that is the question that we are going to attempt to have an answer on today. A couple of things came into before us, and one was other previous industrial parks, one being Good Friend Park, Hardscrabble, and the other one, which I'm not, Turnpike.
Mhm.
I'm going to spend most of these applications did come before the town planning department subsequent to the 1984, which is especially the Hardscrabble and the Good Friend Park. The discussion of whether or not a planned industrial park came up in a previous discussion was with the Hardscrabble. And there was some discussion about that. There's a group for the South Fork, letter dated October 24th, 1986. And then we have a memorandum from Gene Cross, October 28th, 1986. And then we have a memo from the planning department dated October 29th, 1986. The conversation was around whether or not it did fall within a planned industrial park at that special permit. The group for the South Fork thought it would fall into that. The decision at the time was based on the specific needs. The specific needs at that time, and whether or not, and the planning department felt that the needs of the applicant and the property itself did not require a special permit. The question is, does that present a precedent to the town as with the other applications? I'll address precedent first. I think that, and when you're looking at precedent, you are looking at the specific application and its needs. I think that in this particular case, there are situations that come up that are specifically different from that. Notwithstanding that, this is the first time in the town of East Hampton that it's being kicked to the zoning board for decision. I will submit that the decision we make tonight will be the precedent-setting decision for the town, being that so I will debate whether or not precedent has been set, because this is the first time it's come before the zoning board. So we are here tonight to make that decision. Regarding whether or not it is a special permit under the planned industrial park, I'm going to look specifically to the definition, and I think it's a black and white decision for us from that kind of say. We have in 1984, but let me read the definition. It says a development of industrial land involving the subdivision of a large lot into 5 or more lots, each of which is at least 20,000 square feet in area. And that fits the definition of what we have before us, the Wainscott does. I'm looking at a literal interpretation of this law, the literal interpretation that it does fit into industrial park and therefore would require a special permit. More than that, I also think that it's consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and the NRSP's requirements that were established in 1984. The definition of this was subsequent to that, or even part and parcel of that decision. So I think it's consistent with the viewpoint of the town to only make that determination. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Good enough.
Anybody want to go?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Joe, I have a couple small points to add. I'm in general agreement with our chair. With respect to the definition, not only do I think the definition of an planned industrial park is literally clear. The words "a development of industrial land," I want to focus on the word development, which is separately defined in 255-1-20 as any man-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including but not limited to buildings or other structures, mining, dredging, filling, paving, excavation or drilling operations, or storage of equipment or materials. So I think that reinforces the literal nature of the definition. And then I want to refer council to a letter that we received dated February 3rd, 2023 from the Super Law Group, stamp received February 7th, 2023. And in it, it addresses certain arguments that were raised by the applicant quite eloquently. And I will point out a few of them, but I thought they were fair points to make. And one of the points was that a planned industrial park in and of itself is subject to a special permit. And it's not a question of fairness. And there isn't any duplication of permitting, which the applicant had made an argument for, and I believe it was a fallacious argument, because the permit application will happen at the planned industrial park level. If there are subsequent different applications for specific uses, those will be brought by different applicants and be different applications down the line. So I think the argument that there's a duplication of permitting is fallacious at best.
I think that's also backed up in 25550, where specific standards and safeguards
Right,
is under the planned industrial park. So
right.
I think you're right.
I think the other projects that Chair Deline mentioned are distinguishable. And I think I agree, no one bothered to ask us. And I don't think the principal building inspectors, as argued by the applicant, that there's ambiguity. I think that's incorrect. I don't think there's any ambiguity. No one bothered to ask the zoning board. I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Ed?
Okay, I appreciate both the chair's comments and Joan's. I think that they were right to the point. I think there was an awful lot went on here at the hearing. It was a very long hearing. And we heard from David Egan, who made his points that were just now referenced by Joan. And what we heard was that this was going to be a duplicate process and it was unnecessary, and that when individuals came in for their particular usage of their 1 acre or larger parcel that would be part of this industrial park, that they would go in front of a permitting process, and therefore that would take care of whatever problems might arise in the future. I couldn't agree with that, because I think that, as was pointed out by the chair, the code is very specific. And I think when it comes right down to it, it's pretty direct. And the fact is that there's a need for a special permit for the project as a whole. And then after that, there'll be that secondary, was pointed out by Joan, series of permittings that an individual can propose what uses he has for his acre, and it'll come in front of this board or other boards for approval, ARBs and things like that. So that's all there. I thought that there was an awful lot of discussion that was really basically away from the point. And some of that had to do with the 3 previous commercial industrial developments. And I agree with the chair also that there is no precedent since we were not asked to rule on it. And I'm not sure, even if there had been something along the way that made it more confusing for me, I still would have felt that this is a completely different project in scope, and that it really requires us following the letter of the code on this. I don't think we can casually look at this project and not consider that it should come under the same exact regulations as the code would suggest. I thought that that there were some very good points, again, as you referenced, Joan, by Reed Super, and that at one point under 255-50, he suggested that the design of the industrial park should not be left to the owners alone, that it comes under the control of an outside agency, so that we don't find out that after this project has moved forward, that we have a problem that we could have done something about at an earlier time. I realize that there's been 6 years, I think they said, that the planning board has worked on this, and there was a reference it might go on even longer. It might go on even longer. It's a major project in the town. I think following back to the simplest way, and not only other discussion, is to go back to the code and say that this requires a special permit. So I'm in agreement with my fellow board members.
And if I may just add a little bit too, before we go over to, is the applicant argued that this is just a subdivision and it should just be approved as, move forward as a subdivision. And I find that there's no exclusionary language in the definition to back that up. So I think that it's clear once again.
Well, and he stated that, as you said, this is just a subdivision, yet there was a whole lot of language in all the documentation that we had that referenced other uses, other types of businesses possibly. But anyway.
Continue.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we were asked to interpret that if this was a planned industrial park, or it sounded like we knew it was, but so as back to ambiguity, the ambiguity that was suggested by the applicant for WCC, the region, planned industrial park, development of the industrial land involving the subdivision of a large lot, the 5 or more lots, each of which is at least 20,000 square feet in area. We know that it has all of that in it. There's no ambiguity at all. So this project is a planned industrial park. And on top of that, yes, there is in 255, 550, where there's specific special use requirements, planned industrial park, items 1 and item 3, there should be an overlay plan that incorporates adequate and suitable designs for infrastructure, parking, internal access, on-site drainage, et cetera, items 1 and 3. And that too indicates right there, when you look in the zoning tables under commercial, this is attachment 3 of 3, the use tables for planned industrial park in a CI district requires a special permit. So to me, there is no ambiguity here. It clearly is, this is what it is, and it will require a special permit.
Yes, I agree with everything that has been said. The very purpose of the special permit, as outlined in 255-510 of the town code, is designed to provide review of selected types of land, of proposed land uses. The case-by-case review can increase the ability to avoid negative consequences to land use patterns, community character, and the environment before coming into existence. The other sections of the code, which have already been cited, are 255-520, special permit uses, and 255-520 states as follows: said uses may not be commenced, created, undertaken, carried out, or thereafter maintained or substantially expanded without a special permit first having been obtained therefore. Any land use, including the erection, construction, reconstruction, alteration, demolition, moving, conversion, or change of use of any structure shall be a special permit use requiring a special permit. So I think that, and again, has been stated many times, this is a 70-acre parcel, zone CI, divided into more than 5 lots, each larger than 20,000 square feet. So I feel this is definitely requires a special permit for the land use. And I'm in agreement with my fellow board
I'd
members.
add one more thing too, and the planning department has already declared a pause deck on this, which is a part of the secret process. So from the environment, just from the environmental review that is undertaking, I think it's also falls within the intent of the town code at that time.
Yeah, maybe, but we were just asked about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so there you
With
go.
narrow scope.
Yeah.
All right, narrow scope. I'm talking about the consistency.
Mhm. No, that's a very, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so just to summarize, because I think everyone's on the same page, the board's all agreeing with each other, that in this specific case, the facts were looked at by each one of you. It was implied, those facts were then applied to the definition of industrial park, which the board found fit the definition, in which return fits the definition then for a special permit, requiring, in this case, a special permit to be issued in order for the development of this parcel.
Yes,
Correct.
and it's planned industrial park.
And I think
Definition
it's
is planned
reinforced by what Terry pointed out, the table
Yep.
of uses.
Yes.
And I think you might want to look at that letter. Ed spoke about it as well, that there really isn't duplicative permitting. I just think that was argument that should be addressed in the decision.
Okay. Got it.
All good?
All good.
We're good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have
Very
Mohammed Grima at 425 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-128-1-32.1. The size and location is 54,325 square feet at 425 Cranberry Hole Road, Cherry Point, Lot 1, map number 11091 in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 3,463 square foot total two-story residence, 1,800 square foot of first floor decking, covered decking and entry, 1,316 square foot of second floor decking and covered decking, a 416 square foot roof deck, 564 square foot swimming pool, walkways, driveway, and sanitary system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation, dunes, and tidal wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is a residence AE flood zone and elevation 10 and secret class is type 2. Board members, as you all know, we discussed this matter in our last work session, I believe it was. In that work session, it was a 3-2 denial. Me being part of the 3 denial. Subsequent to that decision, I realized that on the first decision, I was part of approval. I had an approving vote, which is also a 3-2 denial. So I've requested to bring this back to discussion for the board. It's not just my discussion, but I'm going to, in light of the first decision, which was based on a reduction of the house application and the size of the property, I approved it based on that, and I felt that the lot size was sufficient and the property was conforming and meeting NF3. I also discussed that I wasn't all happy with the application as I am on my second go around. So I think was pretty consistent. I was not consistent in my denial, and being that the second time around, the house has been improved even more from the first time. I feel I have to change my vote to an approval. I think that in not doing so would not be prudent as a
Consistent.
decision. With that being said, I'd like to turn it over to each one of you if you have any comments or any further comments to be made.
Well, I'll take it, Mr. Chair. I'll just say that the decision that I made the last time we had this was for the very first time we had a Grima in front of us. I voted for denial. I voted for approval this last time because I thought there was a concerted effort to improve the application. And by improving the application, I thought it fell into a realm where I could prove it. I haven't changed my mind in any way. I still stand by that decision, and I'm willing to let it go, move forward. I have nothing to add. It's all part of the record, what we
That's
knew
right.
before.
That's
But that was it.
No, I have nothing to add. I wasn't part of the first decision, and I have to say the second go round, it was a hard decision because this area is so beautiful, but they're only developing 10% of the property. And on balance, they have a right to develop something. Would I have liked to see less? Yes, but we have to call it as the applicant applies. So I stand by my decision.
Denise?
My opinion hasn't changed, not much. I was a part of the first denial. Not much has changed, in my opinion, since the last denial. And what has changed is really not enough for me to approve this application. So I'm standing by the decision I already made.
Thank you.
And I too was a denier in the first application and a denial in the second application. I think they did not go far enough in improving the conditions. Also, the scope and scale of that, I think they could have made it less also and done something perhaps about the pool in particular. I don't know that is appropriate in my opinion. So I too am standing by my decision, denying it.
Okay. Thank you. Council, are we okay on that?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Other decisions, we have Christine Ryder at 11 Stevens Road in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-68-7-4, to allow pool deck and pool cover to remain 18.7 feet from the rear yard lot line setback where 20 foot is required. Morgan?
So this application qualifies for variance without a hearing. It's just for the pool deck and pool cover. They were constructed 18.7 feet from the side yard lot line where 20 feet is required.
What is this a decision of?
This is a
Mod or?
It qualifies for a variance without a hearing. So it,
Oh,
they did,
okay.
it wasn't an application that was previously before us.
Okay.
I
And do you want to tell us, so is that the survey?
Yeah, yes, it's for the
Zoom in on
pool
that a
deck
little
and
bit.
pool cover.
Yeah.
They are 18.7 feet from the side yard lot line as constructed.
Would it be appropriate to ask for more vegetation or is there anything?
It's not an NRSP jurisdiction,
Right.
so I'm not sure.
Oh,
there's
so
much
no.
of
So
that.
it's an area.
Yeah, it's
variance
literally
straight out.
just the
Area variance
variance.
without a hearing. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I am too.
Okay. I am.
Me too. Is this a motion?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So for Christine Ryder at 11 Stevens Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-068-07-04, make a motion to approve this 1.3 foot variance without a hearing.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Sound good?
I concur.
Counselor?
I concur as well. Thank you.
I
Next we have-
just want to confirm on this one, Roy, that this, normally when we do a variance without a public hearing, we have to let it still run for the time. Did this already run for the time? Or is this? a
No,
brand
No.
this is just so, so it
We'll
can
move
go.
it forward, so it's
new?
still
Okay, perfect.
posted.
Okay, all right.
So we're not actually approving
Yeah,
it
we're
now?
not approving it.
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't word that correctly.
You're allowing it to go
To
Yeah, that's
allow
correct.
it to,
unless you hear from neighboring properties.
we're allowing it to go.
It's going to be
Without
posted
a
like
hearing.
regular-
Proceed that way.
Proceed
It'll be-
without a
It'll be
hearing.
back
Okay.
before us.
I concur.
Okay.
Next on extensions of time, we have Robin Diamond at 91 Napeague Harbor Road, Amagansett, Suffolk tax map number 300-110-2-1. And that's an extension of time, and I'll just let the board know I'm recused on this. Mhm.
Okay, so the original determination for this application was from August 2018, and then it was modified in September 2018. They were granted to the NRSP and variances were granted to demolish an existing residence and construct a new 1,950 square foot residence with decking, sanitary, and driveway on a parcel with tidal wetlands, dunes, and beach vegetation. It's received an extension of time once before in 2021. And along the shoreline, there was some retaining walls and bulkhead. And a condition of the permit was that the shoreline was supposed to be naturalized by
Mhm.
removing those structures. And in conjunction with the demolition of the residence and which the residence has been demolished. This is what it looked like as of last week. The foundation has been poured. To the planning department's knowledge, those structures haven't been removed yet with, they weren't removed.
At
in
the
con-
shoreline? Stuff
Yeah,
at the
along the shoreline. So we don't have a picture of that, but we're pretty sure it has not been removed yet. So that was one of the conditions of the permits. They did receive a DEC permit for that work done on the shoreline, and it expires in 2025 from what I found in the file.
Well, it's an extension of time
Yeah,
from
yeah.
2018, you said, right?
Yes, and then there was one, I
yes.
think the last extension time was in 2021.
21?
Just to be clear, they can't get a CO unless they comply, right? So I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Yeah.
All the conditions set out in the previous approval still apply. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Everyone?
Should I make a
Yes.
motion? Okay. All right, in the matter of Robin Diamond, 91 Napeag Harbor Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-110-02-01, I make a motion to approve the request for an extension of time.
A second?
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have minutes approval, draft minutes of March 7th, 2023.
So for the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals, I make a motion to approve the minutes from March 7th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur.
I concur. We move on to resolutions, and we have Chris Robbins at 257 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-19-7-44.19. Council.
This application was to construct a 720 square foot swimming pool, 160 square foot pool patio, 20 square feet of pool equipment, and to relocate and upgrade a sanitary system within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. The applicant submitted several surveys on this property, all which provided conflict information to the board, and the board was unable to determine the clearing percentages on the parcel based on the surveys provided, nor if the parcel would be overcleared by the improvements. The structure the applicants are proposing, including the shower and the pool equipment, were not accurately reflected on based on the information provided in the record. So the board decided that they couldn't make a determination based on the incomplete record of the applicant as to the lot area of the subject parcel. In addition, there are substantial wetlands. There's 5 wetlands associated with the subject parcel, and in which it appears that all the proposed structures are greater than 100 feet. However, the inconsistent surveys and the lack of information provided on the record, again, the board was unable to determine with certainty if the shower and the pool equipment would remain outside of the variance standards, nor if the clearing would remain in compliance. Mitigation on this matter was not addressed by the applicant or any of the other documents entered into the record by the applicant, as the IA system is a requirement to be moved because of the location of the pool. So as such, the board did find the entire board did find in favor of let's try that again. The board did deny the application. All members of the board denied the application as written.
Okay. And they're getting rid of the sauna.
Yeah, the sauna, it is in there. I did add a little
On the
bit about the sauna. It is removed, but again, there's no revegetation plan as the determination states on what would be done with the land underneath the sauna and what they planned on doing with
Well,
it.
the sauna wasn't removed. It will be.
Yeah, it was proposed to be removed on the survey.
All right, so for Chris Robbins at 257 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-019-07-44.19, make the motion to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you.
I thought you did a good job on writing the decision.
Yes, thank you.
It was hard to write a negative decision because we were so confused.
Thank you.
Next, we have Alexander Leanberry and A.G. Taylor at 7 Fremont Road, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-19-6-5.5.
This is actually a modification. The request is to modify the board's determination dated on September 25th, 2018, filed on September 27, 2018, to approve an updated building and survey plans to decrease the distance between the swimming pool and the proposed clearing line, therefore moving the swimming pool closer to the residents. This was actually a proposal that the planning department was in favor of and actually requested during the original application. As such, the conditions of approval, the approved survey, and the approved building or construction plans has now been updated to the August 13th, 2020 plans. And that is really, everyone was in agreement with this modification.
Thank you.
Okay. So for Alexander Leanberry and A.G. Taylor at 7 Fremont Road in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-019-06-5.5, make a motion to approve the modification as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur. Thank
Concur.
you. Thanks, Chair. There you go.
Oh, you got the time for me? Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals work session for March 14th, 2023 at 7:55 PM.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Matt.
everyone. Thank you, Hope.
Good night.